let's get into it. So table of contents, we're just kind of really briefly slide over me, because it's not really about me, right? And then just what a BDM does, where do you guys even start, finding the right fit, testing, step 2, setting expectations, tracking and reporting, and then we'll go over some questions if you guys have any for me. A little about me, single mom when I started this journey in real estate almost 20 years ago. So they're my why. I think every marketing person, every person should have a why, and my kids are my why. I sat in a class yesterday, and her why was adventure, not over her kids. Mine is truly my kids and making their life better than mine was. So I started in real estate back in 2007 as a transaction coordinator. So when I transitioned into marketing for an inspection company, the inspector my office used hand-wrote his inspections. So I've seen it all in real estate, so I think that gave me a leg up in being able to do marketing because I already knew the industry. But if you get somebody brand new, you get to train them how you want them to be trained and run your business. So that's just a little bit about me. Not even going to read that because it really isn't about me. Today it's going to be, what does a BDM even do, right? You guys are good at doing inspections, or for my women in here, maybe helping with the marketing or helping with the phones. A BDM is the one that is going to help bring you new business. They're going to build these relationships that you want to last forever. I have, from my transaction coordinating days, I built relationships that they ended up starting to use my inspector, not because of my inspector, because of relationships I built as a transaction coordinator with cross agents and things like that. So that's truly what the end goal for them is, to build relationships to bring you inspections. I do think I have it in maybe here or a different slide, but I always want to remind the inspectors in the room, it's your job to help maintain that relationship too. You can't be killing the deals, you can't be scaring them off on findings and how you do your reviews. So it's a really good mesh of teamwork with your business development manager, because they're going to bring in the business and you have to still do the inspection, right? So it's that ebb and flow with your marketing person, BDM, whatever you want to call them. So it is an ebb and flow of working together to maintain business. One thing I personally did and will always recommend, have your business development manager learn how to read your report, what's in your report, what your state requirements are, so they can answer questions out in the field. I've been in meetings with these huge 300-pound construction managers that just got into real estate, and by the end of my meeting, they're like, oh, you actually do know what you're talking about. You know, we're judged a little bit on our knowledge too in the industry of, do you really know what you're talking about? So have them learn your software, you know, and what your reports look like and why you do. They should be coming to your inspections anyways, 1 to 2 times a week to film you, to find stuff, to have that content for social media. So they should be learning kind of alongside you of what you do. And that way they know what they're talking about when they're speaking to realtors. You know, I can talk about termite tubes when I'm up. And you get to a point as a business development manager, or probably even as an inspector, if you're in the same office every single month, what do you start to talk about? You know, you run out of things to kind of talk about because these people know you, they know your services. If you haven't added anything new, it's kind of like, well, what do I talk about? And I was in a Keller Williams for years and years and years, and I got bored, and I was like, what do I talk about one day? So I got up there, and you know realtors, they're on their phone, they're not even listening to you. And I'm just like, hi, Vanessa Pearson, Muscular Moving Men. And everybody looks up. And they're like, you're not with Muscular Moving Men. I said, who am I with? They said, yeah, NPI. I said, okay, gift card, you know who I am. Give me one of my warranties. What do I offer? You tell me. I started quizzing these agents. And they still to this day, they're like, I couldn't believe we thought you moved. And it's just, so to keep it fresh too, it is helpful. Because I think I have in here, agents are dumb, you know? And so we have to not only bring the lunch, you know, because that's part of what I do too. I order lunch for the office and they tell me there's 30 agents and there's only 15 and I feel like I just wasted $100. So there's a lot that goes into being a business development manager. It looks like fun, but there's a lot of back-end work too that I do, because I'll do an event and then I get the list of people that came to, my home tour. I have to follow up as a BDM, right? I have to engage for that relationship to make that connection and for them to want to try and use us. So there's a lot. So I do have, it's not all in here, but what I have done with my BDMs with my company, because I've hired and fired a lot, I make them track. And I have all of my tracking docs in a Google Doc for you guys. I have a list of, if you don't even know what to tell your BDM to do, right? I mean, does anybody in here have a business development person? Or is everybody you do? Okay.
I'm using somebody, but I didn't know how to scope out their process and what their assignment was.
Okay. So I have a list that has every idea that you can possibly think of that I've done to bring in new business too. So I do have docs on the back end if you guys want it to incorporate into who you're using or to start fresh with. I've got docs for you guys. So where to start? This is Afton. She is one of my business development managers. She came to me as a business development manager from a roofing company. She was not my best friend's sister's cousin that wanted a part-time job. You can't hire that person as much as you want to help people, you need to find the right person. And that, I think, is gonna be your biggest stumbling block, is finding that right person. And it's that balance too, because you don't wanna spend $80,000, because that's what I have to pay her, because she came to me with a huge book of business, and I knew she was gonna make it quicker than somebody brand new that I had to train. I didn't have to train her. But I also don't want you to spend $80,000 if you don't have to, right? So there's that factor in it too. To find the right person, you want a high eye on the disc. So this actually takes you guys, if you want to scan this, takes you to a link for the disc analysis. It's free. Some discs you pay for, this one's free. Have them take this and make sure they're a high eye, because a high eye is outgoing. A high eye can be like, hi, I'm Vanessa. You don't want somebody that's not gonna be able to walk up and talk to people. You need that. You don't want somebody sitting behind a computer. I mean, agents aren't even in their offices, so why should a BDM be in theirs? Title reps in this industry, they've got it harder than I do, because they have to be in the office because their escrow officers are up their butt. I don't want my person in an office. I don't even have a brick and mortar. I don't know if you guys do, but why do we need a brick and mortar? My guys are in the field. My office girls work from home. And I should be out schmoozing realtors and doing events. So again, my personal opinion, but you want a high eye. You want to get outgoing person. And this is where I say you have to deliver on the inspection side too. You can't. And I've had that. I've had a lot of inspectors that scare off, so it is a really fine line that we all walk. Okay, so let's talk about, you found that right person, you found the high eye, you're really excited, but you don't know how to pay her. And I emphasize her, if anybody had that question. I had that question yesterday, her. My advice is pay over minimum wage, pay their mileage, and there's tracking apps that they can track their mileage, and pay them per inspection bonus, not for booking a CE class. That should be incorporated into the job description. Booking an event should not yield a bonus. To me, what yields a bonus is you brought me a brand new agent that booked an inspection, and you're gonna get 25 bucks, 35 bucks, whatever you wanna give them, every time that agent uses us. So the incentive is for that agent to maintain that relationship so they are always coming back to use us as the inspector. So it works. They see, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, so it's a commission style structure?
Kind of. They get a base pay, and it's a decent base pay, but the incentive is to make more money with your bonus structure. So that's, and you can do salary if you want, but there's no incentive to work harder to me for salary. With Afton, I have to track a lot of what she does, and I have to justify to myself, is she worth that $80,000 I'm paying her every year? Last year I broke even with her. She was first year, I broke even. I think that's pretty dang good. She brought me $80,000 worth of new business that I'm gonna get to keep, and she's gonna bring in more. I'm happy with that. My Scottsdale marketing rep that I fired, she wasn't bringing it in, and I knew it within 3 months. And you're gonna know within 3 months of hiring somebody, even if you think you found the right fit and you found the high eye, you might find somebody that just gets complacent and doesn't wanna actually go into offices and do the things, which is why you track. And I have every new agent that you're gonna bring in that you're gonna pay the bonus on, you're gonna have them put in a list in a Google Doc that's shared that you can always go see, even if it's 11 o'clock at night and you're like, you know what, I haven't checked on that in a couple weeks. You can see that she has 3 new agents, that it's on her list. And you're gonna know, because you're the ones doing the inspections, that I've never seen this person, you know? And she's gonna have a report, a weekly report that she tells you, Monday, I went to Keller Williams, I did their, breakfast, I went and had lunch with Nate Brill from Libertas, and they're gonna outline what they did in their day. So then you're gonna know what they're doing, and it's easier to justify having this person on staff, because it's a risk. It's scary to hire somebody and to trust somebody to bring you business. It is, and I've seen it and I've lived it. So it's really getting the right person. And I offered this yesterday, and I'll say it before I forget. If you haven't hired anybody and you do, take my contact info down. I will help interview for you guys. If you want. So I'm readily available to do Zoom, phone calls, whatever you guys want. If you need that help, I'm here.
How many interviews do you do? 1, 2, 3,
At least 2. At least 2, because I will always have a marketing person meet my inspectors too. Because I've got 3 teams, I run teams, and so I want my marketing people to meet my inspectors and kind of get my inspectors' feedback too of what they think of a marketing person too. So if it's just you running a business, then you make that judgment call, but I would definitely do at least 2 interviews. And write an offer letter and be very clear in your offer letter of what their expectations are. So, and that you're gonna have reviews at 3 months, 6 months, and a year, if they make it that far. Again, you're setting that expectation, and I feel bad for you because I don't think you did. Setting those expectations at the beginning makes it much easier, but it's not something you can't implement. You go back and say, I took this class and we're gonna change some stuff up, and either they get on board or they don't, and you're gonna know if you have the right person. So ZipRecruiter, I pulled from Phoenix. It's about 80,000 is what the average BDM should be making. So, I mean, I'm really on par with Afton on it, but they have the potential to earn more than that. I mean, they're earning what they're bringing in. They're working for it. So that's just your 2 options on that. So I touched on this a little bit. Setting expectations. I even meet with them weekly on a Zoom, and that really does help, because your BDM will start to build these relationships, and they're the ones that are gonna get the phone call of, I think Steve missed this window because it is broken now. I get those calls. They don't even call the inspector anymore. So it's nice to do that weekly Zoom to where we can sit in and have conversations and what's working and what's not working, to just be able to stay on top of them too. And they know that you care and you're investing in what they're doing. I have a tracking for her expenses. So when you're figuring out how much you want to pay this person, you also need to figure out what their budget's going to be for events, for those lunch and learns, for the coffee appointments, things like that. You need to budget that in. I started with a $500 budget. Afton has about a $1,000 budget, and she maxes out all the time because you guys get hit up all of the time for Am I right? Can you sponsor this? Can you help me with that? I've got this client appreciation that I'm doing. Can you give me $200? Can you give me $200? You're like, no, I don't want to give you any more money. Give me inspections, right? So how many in here use ISN? How many of you pull your new agent reports weekly? Yeah, so that's her job now. And she can incorporate that of who the new agents are, right? And so that's another way for you guys to track and set those expectations. So she needs to learn how to read your report. She needs to learn how to use ISN. I didn't even realize ISN has mass emails. Like, you really could be using ISN as a CRM too. I pay for a separate CRM. I was like, what am I doing? So just setting that expectation, it helps. It really helps. So if you have them join a BNI, there's going to be dues on that. And then that's a weekly, to me, BNI is a part-time job. I wouldn't necessarily I feel like your time can be spent better elsewhere with a BDM. So, but it's really, really crucial to set those expectations, because then everybody's on the same page and there's no issues moving forward on it. So tracking their agents, tracking just what they're doing every day, I think would put you at ease, right? Of, okay, I know she is actually going out there and meeting with agents and bringing in business. And you've got to remember, new agents sometimes only do 4 or 5 deals a year. So it's gonna take her 2 to 3 months to maybe even get one person. The other thing in my list is, how many of you have already built relationships with lenders and title reps and home warranty people? Those need to be transitioned to your business development manager, and she needs to be building those relationships, because I like to have 5 sponsors on events I do. I've got a chicken and pickle event coming up. I don't want to spend more than $100 on it, so I'm bringing in a moving company. I bring in insurance agents in, pest control people, roofers. Roofers actually have a lot more money to spend than we do, right? So have them building that too, of their vendor list of who they partner with, is huge too, because that's going to help save on the budget. Oh, I see a spelling error. I'm sorry, guys. I tried to fix all of them last night. Okay, don't micromanage your BDM. You don't want them to quit, do you? So that's where, when you're tracking, you're having those Zoom calls, you're not micromanaging, you're just kind of managing. I've seen too many times, even down to what they're wearing. You got to think about that. Are you going to have a dress code that you're requiring them to wear t-shirts all the time? I'm standing up here in pants. I don't think I own more than 2 pairs of pants. I'm in dresses all day long when I'm out and about, But there should be that conversation maybe of what you want them to be looking like. How do they want to present themselves? Because you don't want them looking trashy, right? That's your name behind it. So there's that too. It's not going to be overnight, but within the first 3 months, you really should be seeing business coming out of this person. So, questions? Any more questions that anybody has? I flew through that, I'm sorry. Yes?
Okay, so you gave a few ideas for ways that we can track, or ways that we can look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Agent reports, new business reports out of ISN. What are some ideas for how you manage your BDM?
So it's all in a shared Google Doc. So her weekly reports that she tracks what she does, it even breaks down to, like, what was the highlight of your week? What's something that you struggled with this week? But it's all in a shared Google Doc. So I have her agent report in there. I have her weekly reports in there. Her expense report comes to me once a month, and I go over that, and you'll just have that conversation of, hey, why are we using Easy Cater? Why are we not going to pick up food on our own? Because that was $300 out of your budget. Like, can we figure something else out in that time? Oh, you had 2 events that you double booked yourself? I've been there, I've done that. I do video all the time. I'll double book myself all day long. I will do a video for Keller Williams, and they put that up on the screen, and I'm doing a different event. So Google Docs, share everything. You want everything just to be very accessible in a Google Doc shared.
You said that you keep a list of who came to, did you say a home tour?
Yes, so that's something big in Arizona. You'll call listing agents and say, hey, your listing is in this pocket that I've designated. Do you want your house on our home tour? So I'll get about 8 to 10 listing agents and homes on the tour. We all meet at a Starbucks or coffee shop, something like that. You can even go as fancy as getting a caravan, like renting a limousine-style bus thing. They're hard to split the bill, so I've stopped doing that. But everybody can just caravan, you want to ride with me? And then you get 4 hours usually, because you're going to each person's listing, walking through, kind of like an open house, but it's all agents. And there's feedback forms, so everybody's writing feedback of, to tell the seller what they need to fix. It's, homes that have maybe been sitting on the market a little bit too long, the price is too high, so agents love them. And I love them because I get 4 hours in front of a realtor and 10 realtors, so you're really building that relationship quick on home tours, and they're very low cost. I brought donuts, I brought a gift card for the raffle at the end because we played poker. Each house had different poker things, and the other person, the title rep, brought the mimosas that we had at the second house. So it's a great way to build relationships with agents, with home tours.
So you're setting those up yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't work with people that don't work. So my lenders and my home warranty people, they are all calling. I'll take the list of 100 homes, let's just say, and everybody calls 25 people to get them on tour. Once we hit 10, we're full. And it's a great opportunity. You just pick date, time.
And then the listing agent has to be there to help the home open?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have like marketing agencies, if you will, or boards, or some brokers that do that.
Yes.
But I didn't think about doing that ourselves.
Do it
That's a good idea.
Yes. Yeah, because then you're not paying the $100 or $200, whatever the fee is.
So the other people, you said they call agents, like the title company?
Yeah, that would not be something I would do all on my own. So the title rep needs to be calling listing agents, home warranty, even whoever your vendors are that are going to help sponsor this with you, they help call.
And then, yes, I would like the Google Docs.
Okay. Here, let me switch to my contact info.
So we should just email you?
Yeah, email me and I'll email them back.
So we do lots of different events with active agents that are currently part of our clan. What might that look like too, and how you compensate based on those? Like, for instance, we know she didn't bring them in, but she's still nurturing that relationship, or,
I've never paid on existing book of business.
That's hard to hear.
Okay, so, we have existing client or agents that are on our list already.
Yeah.
But we like, for instance, this Sunday, we're sponsoring a football game
Yeah.
with their team because it's just a great representation. You get to hang during the game with them. But as our marketing person, I would want her at that event.
That's why you pay her hourly. But you're not going to pay her a bonus on agents that you've brought in, basically, right? You're going to pay those bonuses on new business. That's the incentive to bring in new business.
If you don't mind,
No.
I'll share. So we've been through a few of these folks over the years. Unfortunately, we had the opposite happen, and when we've only incentivized one.
Okay.
And it was our lesson that I don't incentivize.
Okay.
Or I pay hourly, I pay well, and if we want to give above and beyond, we have the opportunity to do that.
Right.
But the reason being is this particular person had a very high profile of I think you said, right?
Hi, yes, on the
And
desk.
Her job became the tracking of for incentives. So in her mind, she was very competitive with herself, and she didn't want to let one little thing go past her for getting her incentive. So when that kind of transitioned, and we also had the thing come up with, oh, well, I did at this one, well, we've been in business so long that that person went way back from day one, you know, that she may not have been aware of. So when that happened, we really had, like, she ended up just leaving, but it was consuming everybody in my organization, and I'm like, we can't have that. Like,
Yeah.
there's gotta be a trust factor.
Absolutely.
We gotta be able to do this a different way.
Yeah.
It's not your full-time job to track it.
Right, and I've had that come up where I'm going over her agent list and I'm like, oh, Connie Murphy, I met her, even though she's kind of in her East Valley part of, and she's just like, oh, okay, I didn't know, she's in one of the offices she visits. So it is that trust on both sides, but my BDMs don't spend hours tracking.
Right.
I have to remind them to track, because my BDM wants to be out there in front of agents. She's like, I don't want to be behind my computer. I'm like, kind of have to. Like, I need to prove to myself that you're worth the money. So set that expectation, and maybe your next person, you know, still have them track, but it's a time limit on it. You know, you're not spending.
We just cut it out, so there's no, we don't have to worry
You
about that
still,
anymore.
even if you're gonna pay a flat salary, you still want them tracking, do you not?
Oh, no, we do tracking.
Okay.
I'm just saying for incentives.
Yeah.
That's not any part of their job. Like, their job is to go get business.
Right.
We have a lot of different tracking.
Okay.
But not that. Because I would rather either give them an increase, give them a bonus, give them something in the new year, give them something they're struggling with throughout the year, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's your personal preference on how you want to do it, because I've done it both ways. I have incentivized my BDMs, and then I've paid a salary too. So it's situational. I think it really goes back to finding that right person, and that's the hardest part, is finding your kind of perfect bubble of a person.
Has anyone had some success or tried using a VA for this role?
I've never, in 20 years, I've never heard of a VA. For an assistant part, if she's super busy and, you know, you need to get like a virtual assistant to help order the lunches and manage like the food and the follow-up emails, things like that, maybe booking appointments for her and the CRMs, but I don't.
It's a physical thing. It's more.
It 100% is, because you're building that relationship and making that human-to-human connection. AI is never going to replace me. It's never going to replace being able to say, hey, Kathy, how's Tommy? I know he fell. You know, I saw on social media that he fell. This is my old slide, because there was social media. Like I said, your BDM should be at your inspections, hands down. You know, their goal should be a post a day, if not 2 posts a day. In stories, I don't post in my feed every single day, but I definitely have enough video content from inspections. And I don't even do very long. I'll be at a new build and I'm like, why are these bushes touching the wall? So I just take my camera out and I'm like, what's wrong with this? I ask people, like kind of the same with muscular moving men, right? Getting people to think outside of what is their normal scrolling. So, and a lot of inspectors don't want to do their own social media. So that's a high expectation to me for my business development manager, is doing your social media.
I have heard, depending on what you're looking for, but I have heard of companies that are using VAs or a part-timer to do just outbound. Like if they're just trying to make the connection to set an appointment or make the connection of introduction to your company, the first touch. I have heard companies that are successful with that. But I agree with you, like nothing's gonna take away that
Nothing.
face-to-face for sure.
And I use ChatGPT in a lot of what I do, and even like my old docs, I now run everything through ChatGPT to even clean it up. But you can even put in, give me the top 10 realtors in my city. Shoot, there you go. And now you know. And they can base trying to build that. Your BDM should always know your tagline. They should always be talking about what you offer. What's your claim to fame? What makes you better than the next guy? I can tell you right now, what gets me business is my free re-inspect on Binzer items. I will literally be like, raise your hand if you've ever used an inspector. Everybody goes up. Does your inspector offer a free re-inspect? Nobody does. So that's my claim to fame. So the other thing that's not in here, your person needs to be able to public speak. They can't be up here, knees a-clacking. You know, so that's the interview part too of making sure that they can public speak. There's Toastmasters. They can go visit BNIs to get good at it. It's not a deal breaker, but that needs to be a very honest conversation. Have you done any public speaking? How are you speaking in front of a bunch of people? And know what their pitch is. Maybe you go to some of their stuff randomly too and just see how they're doing. Or I have people film for me, you know, and you've built those relationships in your industry that you know, John at Wells Fargo is gonna be at your next event. Call John the next day. Hey, how'd Brittany do? Oh, she didn't show up? I paid for her to go to that. Interesting. So it's keeping tabs. It's not micromanaging, but it's still being on top of what they're doing, if that makes sense. So.
If this is your first time bringing in a BDM, would you feel comfortable putting somebody on some kind of part-time thing?
Yes. My first BDM was part-time. She did 20, 25 hours a week and was very, very effective. Because it's just scheduling your time. I've done 12-hour days, and there's some days I have 4-hour days because I only have a lunch appointment on a Tuesday. And that's okay. I don't need to be hitting it 24/7, right? But it's again, what is your expectation of this person? How many agents do you want them to have, excuse me, coffee and lunch with? So before you even start to look for somebody, maybe make your ChatGPT, ask it. Start me a list of what to expect. And you'll see my list when I send you docs of everything they can do. If there's something I have on here that you guys don't do in your market and you have questions on, call me. Like the home tours. Not a lot of people do home tours, or you're paying the association to do it. I like to do them on my own because, like I said, they're a lot less expensive for me. And then your BDM should always, because I think one of the hardest things for a BDM is going after somebody that already has that relationship with a home inspector, right? How are you going after these top dogs? Staying just top of mind, not being too pushy, and just saying, hey, if your guy is out of town, sick, I'd love to be your backup. They need to have those tools too to know what to say to somebody that does 40 deals a year. That's a lot for one inspector to cater to if he's out and about. So they always need to be able to say, I'd love to be your backup. Who doesn't love a good number two? Let me be your number two, Or going to open houses and taking toilet paper. That pitch with toilet paper at a vacant open house, I mean, that's the type of person you want that's gonna be creative, that's gonna think outside the box of what can I do, what can I say that everybody's gonna remember me, but also building that personal relationship. So I bring toilet paper all day long to an open house.
That's genius. They never have a chair either.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wish I could make toilet paper with my logo on it because I would do it all day long.
So can you say one more time, how do you track the results of the BDM? How do you know what deals were closed and what agents were issued? Everything's manually, you just have in a spreadsheet?
So it's in ISN. Fridays, she'll go back through, Monday through Saturday or whatever, your inspection days are, and she'll go through ISN and say, oh, I had lunch with John 3 weeks ago. I mean, there's no timeline on it, but they're gonna know their agents that they've met, and they go through ISN, and they find the name, put it on their agent count list. that's in a shared Google Doc. So you can see it and she can see it. I even have when she said a thank you, because my BDMs all have to send thank you cards to new agents, you know, and then that's another touch of that office that are going in. I also do birthday cards for some of my offices that my BDMs have to do. I used to do 2 movie tickets. I don't think people really go to the movies anymore, so I started doing Starbucks gift cards. But just having them remember their birthdays, remembering, you know, anniversaries of, hey, I can't believe you've been at KW for 3 years, you know. I'm thinking about moving, where are you going, you know? So that's how you track, is a shared Google Doc and just have them go through whatever. And if you don't use ISN, whatever your scheduling is, have them go through that to find who's been new to them and you guys, and then you can track that way. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Do you also track like what meetings that they have scheduled? Do they keep track of that with who they're meeting with? So that way you would know down, is that part of your meeting to go over like, okay, here's when I have a list of people that are going.
Yes, that's in her weekly document that is, again, in a Google shared, but it'll just tell me Monday, she tells me what she did Monday. Do I need to know that she went to Safeway at 9:03? No. But I've had, Afton came from her old company, her roofer wanted to know minute by minute where she was at. And so there's that fine line of, yes, I want to know what your day looked like. I want a snapshot, and I want to know the names of the agents and the brokerages, like put the brokerage in parentheses so I know, but I don't need a very detailed, you took a 5-minute bathroom break, I didn't need to know that. Like, so I do track, but not to the point where I feel like it's too much. And so when I give you those docs, that's her weekly list of what it is in one of my Google Docs. I have a sample of what she writes to me every week, so you can kind of get an outline of it. And then you could copy and paste that into your own Google Doc if you want to use it, because it literally, like, what's your win? What do you want to work on? So, yeah.
Can you clarify what your role is again? You're the owner and also the marketing director?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
my head spinning.
Yeah.
Because okay.
Yes. So I started with National Property Inspections as a full-time business development manager, and I've transitioned into now owning part of our Scottsdale franchise. So, and I've just been doing it so long when we've hired, and I've had to fire people. I mean, it's okay to let people go that don't work, and you're gonna know, I really think you're gonna know within 3 months if that person's working. 6 months, I think, is more of a, all right, where are we at? Let's pull some numbers out of ISN and see how much you've brought in, and let's gauge some goal settings. I have, you know, I do a goal setting with my BDMs once a year. We'll do vision boards and set goals, just so I kind of know, again, what's going on in their life that you could support them through. Have them do a vision board for you, because then you're gonna see what's going on in their life to be invested in.
And just one more question.
Sure.
The ISN, I don't use ISN, but what CRM are you also using on top of that? Is that kind of, isn't it duplicating things in a way, or is it just how you?
I just realized I could use ISN as a CRM. Yeah,
Not really a CRM.
it's not. I use Constant Contact.
Okay.
I sat through all of them, and I felt like Constant Contact was the best one. There's texting capabilities inside of that too. Your BDM also needs to be very good in Canva. I create all of my own stuff. Even though I'm with franchise, I like to create my own stuff. My face personally is on all of my stuff. And that goes on my social media, you know, so yeah. So, any other questions for me? Everybody have my contact info?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
send you a message. Thank you very much.
You guys are so welcome. All right, I got you out a little early.